Well, I'm just like testing it. So I figure though, since we only have 3 minutes, might as well.
No, you're good.
Did you want to do a welcome?
Okay, and then I have her bio, unless you want to read it.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll let you do whatever you want to do.
But am I gonna be in your way right here?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll move back there.
Is that okay? Because I don't know that we have a better place to put this. I feel
No.
like this is,
That's probably good.
yeah.
I'll move right here. Are you gonna bother me?
I'm gonna poke you up.
I know, that's what I'm worried about. Hello! Welcome! Yeah, you're here. Where's a good place? Yeah. It's gonna be right there, so if I gotta I would think sit on that side if I were you, unless you're near the back so you can see better, but. Okay. I don't even know. Hi. Yeah, can I climb over yet? Thanks for being here. We're so excited, you know. I always tell their program is the first one I write. Oh my goodness, I always do. I want you to know. Thank you. Oh, who's right here? Oh, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be.
Because they have this.
Oh, are we in the way? Oh, we would go right here. No, we're not gonna.
You know they're not. Well, and you're going to see that too, right?
What did you have done?
That's Tori. Jill and Tori are like, oh, okay. Tori's a member of everything. Tori's a member of everything. That's a, Tori, yeah. She is. She's great.
I'm going to be away. I'm going to be in the way too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to keep an eye on my computer though, so I'm like trying to figure this out.
Do I need to move then? You can sit. I can move over one.
I love how we're playing musical chairs here. Maybe I'm just going to sit. That might be better.
That might work. Okay, I'll grab you one. Anybody else need one? Okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Ying, for being here and presenting for us. We're so excited to have you. And thank you for anyone who's here from the Sandy chapter or Salt Lake chapter. So excited to have you here. I'm Jen Pilling. I'm president of the Jordan River chapter. So just really quickly, since this is our Jordan River chapter meeting for the month, did anyone in our chapter read the minutes, review them?
Yes, they
I know, I'm so glad. I'm figuring out technology. We're getting there. Are you okay with approving those? Can somebody second that? Thank you so much. And I don't think, we're not going to do any other announcements. Please look at the newsletter. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. Unless somebody has an announcement that wasn't in the newsletter. Okay, we're good. Okay, Shelley.
I am so excited to have Dr. Eugene Young
not tonight. She was one of my, well, I should say my favorite professor, minus Dr. Wong. I only had him for ear training, sorry, so it was a short time. So I am so glad that she was willing to come and present to us. So I will read her biography, and then I might share a short story about her, maybe. Dr. Young is a Brady Presidential Distinguished Professor and the Director of Keyboard Studies at University. She is the national recipient of the prestigious UMTA Teacher of the Year Teacher Hall of Fame, recognized the Steinway Top Teacher Award, and named an MTNA Foundation Fellow. Dr. Young was also selected to receive the esteemed 2023 Utah Governor's Mansion Artist Award presented by Governor Cox and First Lady Cox in September 2023. Much in demand as a presenter, performer, and masterclass teacher internationally, Jane has given numerous piano workshops, master classes, and concert performances in Austria, Poland, Norway, Spain, Italy, Germany, Singapore, China, Taiwan, the Philippines, Canada, and the United States. She was the featured 2022 National Conference Masterclass teacher for the Intermediate Masterclass. Her and her husband, Dr. Wong, were the featured MTNA National Conference artists, performing as the Formosan violin piano duo at the jam-packed opening session concert of the 2023 MTNA National Conference. Eugene appears frequently as an adjudicator for piano competitions, nationally and internationally, including the MTNA competition, national young artist piano competition in Washington, D.C. and international competition of
it will work. And they play, and it worked, and they go, how did you know that? Thanks to you and all of my other students. So anyways, when Shelley talked to me about coming to do a presentation, there's I gave her a few topics. But you know, if you do presentations, like local, national, international, two topics that for sure will get you audiences. Number one, technique. Number two, sight reading. So once you get something like that, everybody comes. All right. And I have another story to share with you. I have a mom, a student's mom who is a piano teacher. And she said to me, she said, your students have a distinct sound. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, I just can tell that they are your student. And I said, oh, wow, thank you. And then one week she came to the lesson with her daughter, and she said, I heard a girl playing at the PTA at the school of her daughter. And she said, after she played, I was so sure that somehow that she would be like one of your students. And then I went and asked her, so who's your teacher? And then the student says, so-and-so. And she said, that's not Dr. Young. So then she came back and asked me, do you know so-and-so? And I just laughed. That was one of my first students at Weber State. So, I mean, that was so funny that she could just kind of somehow recognize it. All right, well, now today our topic is technique. And I put it in like this, building a successful technical foundation that will last a lifetime. And I'll share with you things that I do with the young students, and then all the way to show you examples of things that I do with the college students. So, first of all, I feel somehow technique seems like a mystery to a lot of people. Like some people have good technique, like how did they get that? Okay, so well. But I actually feel like it shouldn't be. It should not be a mystery. It should be something that we clearly can talk about. And how do we define good piano technique? How do you define good piano technique? Many piano teachers show somehow they unintentionally or maybe intentionally that their students believe that good piano technique is just playing the scales and arpeggios at certain metronome speed, lightning speed. And well, yeah, that person has good piano technique because that was what the teacher spent a lot of time in the lesson to do. And that somehow in every lesson, students feel like that's what good technique is. Well, is it? Unfortunately, a lot of the piano students, they practice their scales and arpeggios every day, but they dread to do that. How many of your students you think dread to do that? Yeah, okay. Well, why? Not only because it is so but the problem is they never made the connection between why they practice scales and arpeggios and their repertoire. Well, after all, how often do you see that the piano repertoire piece is showing 4 octaves, scales and arpeggio parallel going up and down? So, do you know, if you think back, how many piano pieces really do that? Can you tell me one? Well, I can tell you a few. Well, the Chopin Ballade, the very end, and then Brahms' Rhapsody, but that's very few repertoire pieces out of the thousands. And if we teach students to practice scales and arpeggios every day like that, but they never really had a chance to apply it. And they never seen that anywhere, especially like in the early levels or intermediate levels. They are not going to make that connection. Well, what do we do? Okay. And even so, we spend so much time on the scales and arpeggios every single lesson. Somehow, we still were not able to solve their problems. And therefore, the piano technique, the scales and arpeggios that they think becomes such an ordeal. How often do you like to go to the dentist's office every day? So, now, what exactly is the problem? Anybody? What do you think that's the problem? Other than, some things that I mentioned. Well, I think we can probably summarize all the piano students' problems in scales and arpeggios into the 4 basic elements. Number 1, accuracy. 2, fluency. And who wants to give me 3? Fingering, that's totally related to the fluency. And next thing I think is this. They don't play the scales very clearly. Just have their fingers running up and down. That's all they did. Okay. And finally, they play the even tones. Okay. And with that, why do you think that's the case? Well, for the accuracy issue, what was the issue for the students? Why were they not able to play the scales with, or arpeggios with good accuracy? Fingering. Counting.
Desire.
It could be like the crossing over and crossing under on the
Okay, it could be that part of technique, but you know, I found that for some of the students, it was because they don't even know the notes. Yeah, so we teach them all scales, like, you know, many of them at once. And they were not quite sure about some of the notes, but they keep practicing. Yeah, and then they develop the problem, the habits. Well, you were so right. Fluency, why are they not fluent? They don't have solid fingerings. Do you know, okay, let me ask you this. How many major scales have the same fingering?
Oh,
All of them?
well, the F is different,
Okay.
F major is different for the right hand.
Have you ever thought about it?
B is different for the left hand.
Okay, B is different, okay? And anybody else? Have you ever really thought about the fingerings of the major scales? You know, I never did until I had to teach it. I thought, oh my gosh, how do I expect my students to remember 12 major fingerings, 12 harmonic minors, 12 melodic minor, 12 natural minor, 48 different fingerings? Then I sit down. I sat down and really tried to see, wow, what do they have in common? I encourage you to do that, all right? So, the wonderful thing that I now teach my students is I want to make the job easier for them, not harder. So if they know how many scales, major have the same fingering, minor, then immediately they are so much more at ease and not overwhelmed. So try to do that at home. Well, we're not talking about just scales and arpeggios today, but it would be fun if we have a session like that, and we can all discuss about different ways to teach that. Okay, so let's keep moving, and then we'll go into that if we have more time at the end. Okay. So other than accuracy and fluency, did you remember what was the third element?
Clarity.
Clarity. Why are they not able to play the scale notes clearly? Anybody?
So, finger straight.
Finger strength.
Tension. Tension.
Tension. All right. Anybody else?
Fluency, they don't know the fingering, so they can't be clear.
And they cannot be clear. They're not confident to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I found that for my students, the students who were not really taught to play with very strong fingertips, that caused the problems. And the last thing we talked about was evenness. Why are they not able to do things evenly? Anybody? All of it. You know, I found they have not been trained to use arm weight. So show me your fingers. See, every one of them has different lengths, different strengths, right? How can we play them evenly? Like physically, that's impossible. Is it? Well, then I started to think, then how do we do it? One way that I found it will be very helpful for them to play evenly is they have to use the arm weight. You see, if you play with the arm weight on every single finger, then every one of them gets the same weight. But if you do this, then everyone is different. It's just like scientific, all right?
what is really excellent piano technique? How would you define? So we talk about, it's not just scales and arpeggios, but what is it? Well, here is my definition for it. The students, they possess the needed tools physically to create the desirable musical sounds and effects of their piano repertoire at the highest artistic level. And you could tell nothing mentioned about the scales and arpeggio. But what is the important thing to me? It is the sound. Whatever tools they need to create the sound that they desire or they imagine. And at the highest level. That's why the students need you. The other thing is, for the teachers, I hope that I can train them for their critical listening ears and analytical skills so that we can engage them in intelligent, systematic, and creative musical problem solving. Technical issues is a problem, and we teach our students to solve problems in the piano lessons. That's why their piano lessons is so good for them for the rest of their lives, because they already learn how to solve problems from you every single week. Right? What would be our goals to teach our students in terms of the piano technique? Well, we talked about the first thing, accuracy, right? If they keep playing the wrong notes, wrong fingering, then, it's not going to be ideal. Next thing I think will be, they need to know precise piano technique, and they have to have precise physical training to execute that. With that, then they can achieve the fluency and the flow. But then, is it enough? Just have the fluency and the flow? I told my students, if you look at a video of performance or you go to a concert and somebody playing a really, really hard piece, and it looks like that person is playing a really, really hard piece, do you think that is good technique? No. So what are we looking for? We love it when somebody plays a very, very hard piece and we feel like, oh, I think I can do that. Yeah? So we need ease and comfort. That's how you know whether you got it. But I really would like to advocate, above those basic, that we do this every day. Make sure you teach them how to listen. What do they listen for? And I was so surprised in my early teaching career, they don't know what to listen unless they are taught very systematically. And from my own experience, students get to that level at different time. And I had a college student, his name is Jonathan, a great student, so diligent and do a lot of things. And I talk about listening all the time. So from his freshman year all the way until his junior year, I took him and other students to Europe for summer festival. And I do not know, was it the gelatos or something else, in the atmosphere? So after we went to the music festival, the next lesson in the fall, Jonathan jumped in, and the first thing he told me, Dr. Yang, I can hear. And I thought, wow. And guess what? Once he said that, once you can really tell from his playing, he can hear. What does that mean? It's very hard to explain. But the details that he played really shows me he could hear. And I just told him, that's wonderful. Your trip was totally worthwhile. I don't know, acoustic maybe, or something that he explored. just suddenly it clicked. And once that, it's almost like a door. Once you unlock it, once it's open, oh my goodness, your whole world is so colorful. So that's what I continue to encourage the students to do, even though some of them takes many, many years, others maybe quicker. And I would encourage you to continue to do the same because you never know when that's gonna click. And then, in our lesson, it is our job to train them with intelligent musical understanding. What does that mean? That means they need to know how to analyze their pieces, like intellectually, and also make sense out of every single phrase. What does it do? What does it mean? So that they can eventually play their pieces with really good conviction. So continue with that. You would talk about the touches, the nuances, and you would talk about the emotional connection. How many of you like say something about your students? Oh, you're so musical. What do we mean by that? Do the students know what we mean by that? Anybody want to talk about that? When we say somebody is very musical. Yes.
I think for me it's more expression in their piece, and that they're not playing robotically, but they're playing with purpose.
Okay, they play with purpose. How would they play those notes, printed notes that's lifeless, with purpose? If they can have the emotional connection with the music, and that is the magic. So how do we teach that? Okay, so now, finally, if they can start with the emotional connection, then they can have the imagination. Once they have the imagination, then that performance is going to be so heartfelt and so memorable. So now with that in mind, let's go back to talk about why students struggle with what we call technique. Anybody? Before I start with my comments on that, why do we struggle with technique? I think this is our problem. Number one, we don't have terminology to describe it. How many of you that really are able to or have done that in your lesson to precisely talk about technique in very precise terminology that you and the students both understand?
I had a college student recently, I mentioned on a piece that you have such a beautiful touch with this, and he was quiet and he turned to me and said, "What exactly do you mean by that?" And that was one of those teaching moments for me. I loved that, and we could discuss it.
Yeah.
He didn't know that term.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we think, like, because in our field it's just a given, but we never really knew that, oh my gosh, that person had no idea what we are talking about. They just politely keep nodding. Yes, please.
I teach a group classes with children, and I've learned that they don't know what the word relaxed means. So that's the very first thing I teach is relaxed.
Excellent.
And we do dead man on the floor so they can learn how to drop. And it's been magical in learning how to do like these motions and that because they know what relaxed means.
Yeah, that was so amazing to me that, oh my gosh, I don't know how to really describe that the way that they can understand. Well, second, we did not teach them precisely how to do different things. And then, we don't have the systematic approach, so they understand the relationship between their movement and sound. When you do this, that's what you get. Finally, they don't have the systematic guidance to apply specific technique in different parts of the repertoire. They look at the music, they don't know, oh, I should do this here, I should do that there. Yeah, I'm going to share you another story about one of my, most delighted moments from a student, okay, in a few minutes. So, Well, are we guilty of that? Think about it. Yeah. So now, then I'd like to share with you this resource that I discovered, actually thanks to UMTA, because many years ago, I would say maybe 15, almost 20 years ago, Catherine Rowland came to Utah, and in one of her presentations, she talked about a new publication at that time that she just came up with. And in that presentation, I remember how impressed I was that she was able to show us the basic technique that in her books, how that technique would be used in playing Chopin etude, Liszt etude, Beethoven sonatas, all the hardest pieces. It's the same kind of technique. So if we teach them that accurately from the beginning, there's no need to change. They got that from the beginning, and that will be really forever. Okay, so now I'll show you. This is the book. How many of you know this one? Yeah, some of you. Oh, many. Okay, great. So I started to use this one not only to teach the early level students, but I even use it to teach the transfer college students. If they didn't have very good technical foundation, I went back to this, and I actually had wonderful results for those students to have to review their technique quickly. Okay? And this one comes with the repertoire. Earlier I talked about students don't know where to use what technique. Well, guess what? Catherine saved us the trouble. She put that in very simple pieces about what technique you should be using here on the right hand, here on the left hand, so that that would be so clear to the students in terms of the connection. And I did this with, some really young students, some transfer students, teenagers, and one day I was so surprised with one of my junior high students. She came in and she brought me a sonatina, brand new one. She said, guess what? I learned a new sonatina. I said, wow, good for you. And she opened up her music, and for my students, I got them to Xerox their music from the original. Why? Because we write things on the copies, okay? So she opened it up. I was so shocked. Guess what I saw in her music? Every single measure, there was a technique written on the measure. By whom? By her. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, next week you don't have to come anymore. Really, that's what we want for our students, right? But once they can do it, they internalize everything that you taught them. And they can be independent without you. So that was really one of my most delighted moments, like from a teenage student. Yeah. Now, let's talk about this. Well, I would like to show you a video of this student. 2.5 years ago, I was invited by UMTA to do this at the state conference. They said they have seen me teaching all the advanced students, but they wanted to see whether I have anything to offer about teaching beginning students. How many of you were at that session? Okay, so I have to tell you, that was amazing. You know why? My husband and I perform a lot, everywhere. And after the concert, if people like your performances, some of them whistle, right? Yeah, that was my very first time after I did a presentation that somebody whistled. So this is the same student that I brought to that presentation. At the time that I brought Mary to UMTA State Conference, she only had about half a year of piano lessons. So this is after when she had about 1 year and 2 months.
sure. All the fingertips, can you feel how heavy that is? Yes? Okay, so you play upper hand, right hand. Good. How about do 5, 4? Yeah, so you should be able to feel this every single time. Okay, we try that one more time. Let's see whether we can get the fingertips so pointed. Nice.
Okay, let me pause that a little bit. Did you remember earlier we talked about the scale problems? One of them is not able to play clearly, and why? Because the fingertips was the problem. The other one was cannot play that evenly. Why? They didn't use the arm weight. So I would like to take care of those problems from early on. That's why your Hanon is still good. That you should still keep the book. Now here comes the things from Catherine's book. That first one that she talked about is elastic wrist. Why? You talk about teaching students how to relax. Guess where in their hands that they're most tight? Even I was so shocked. Even with very, very like high level students, the wrist was still an issue. They were so like really tense with the wrist, and that not only had problems with tones, but even worse yet, it would cause injury when they practice a lot. So when I saw Catherine did that first technique in her book, was talking about the elastic wrist, the relaxed wrist, I was sold.
And what's this technique called? Elastic wrist. Okay, and let's do this number 2. Tell me about number 2. What do you do? It's the second exercise. Great, show me. Good. Can you say the dynamics that you're playing?
Mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte.
That's great. And then, say it again.
Mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte.
That's nice. That's your left hand. Ready? And.
Mezzo piano, mezzo forte,
Say it louder.
mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte.
Yes, good job. Okay. What's this new technique?
Wrist rotation.
Aha, what is wrist rotation?
Wrist rotation is rotating your wrist. When it's smaller, you do less, and when it's a bigger interval, you do more.
Great. Okay, so show me number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Repeat from here. That's it. Tell me about number 3.
Number 3 keeps changing intervals. On
Aha.
the smaller ones,
Talk
you
louder.
rotate a little bit, and on the bigger ones, you rotate more.
Aha. And then the head. Yeah, let's do that again one more time. Make sure your rotating is very even between the fingers. Ready? Again. Yes, from beginning. Yes, and then let's put in your very firm fingertips to see whether we can make the sound even more clear. Yes, beginning. That's much better. Let's do hands together. Ready? wonderful, very fluent. And this new one is called?
Two-note slur.
Two-note slur, what is it?
On a two-note slur, the first note is a little bit louder and you go down, and the second note you go up and it's a little quieter.
Aha, you say this so well. Show me the right hand. Wonderful. Left hand. Good job. Let's do it together. And can you say down, up? Great. So this one, you do that a little faster. So do the right hand myself, and let's do that right here first. Okay, let's go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's it. Okay, put it on piano. Ready, set. That's circle. Good. Would you say that? Down, up, down, up. Make sure that your second note is really lighter. So let's say another word. So let's say heavy light, heavy light. Great. Great. And can you only do two-note slur on this interval? What's that interval?
A second.
A second. Can you only do the two-note slur, heavy light on interval of second?
No,
No.
you can do it at any interval.
You can do it on any interval. So show me the bigger interval. Heavy and circle. Back hand. That was fantastic. Tell me about this technique.
This is balanced torso and form.
And what does it mean?
It means when you're going lower or higher to lean.
You to lean. So if your hand is right here, how do you lean to it? Aha, your whole body. And then if you go lower, how do you lean to it? Yes. Oh, show me a bad one that is not right. So you play high, and what does your body do when it's not right? Oh. And then when you play low, what's wrong? That's the wrong thing to do. How about you play a really high one and then jump to the really low one? Move and oh, that's how you do it. Tell us, what is a forearm staccato?
Forearm staccato is when you're playing staccato and you move your whole forearm without bending your wrist up from the keys.
Like that. Okay, so go ahead. And can you play forearm staccato only on the loud sound? No? Okay, now try. Yeah, for the fun of it, how about let's play faster. 1, 2, ready, go. There we go. Very good. How does it feel playing loud forearm staccato versus the soft forearm staccato? What kind of feeling do they produce? The forearm staccato loud feels excited, and the forearm staccato piano feels fun. Okay, play one more time. Really excited. forearm staccato always on the triad? No? Okay, here we go. Now tell us a different kind of staccato. Which one is this?
This is push-up staccato.
And what does it do?
So you're bending your wrist forward.
Aha. Wonderful. You're like, they sounded really lively. Ready, and that's fantastic. Now let's look at your piece. Tell me about this piece and what do you see? What kind of technique do you see in this piece? We have
So on this piece, it's slur on the right hand with push-up staccato at the end.
aha. You got it. Anything else?
The left hand is push-up staccato.
Okay, so left hand push-up staccato? Yes. And
At the very end, it's forearm staccato.
oh, so you have two different kinds of staccatos. Anything else that you see? So two note slur, and then push-up staccato, forearm staccato. What about those low notes? What do you do here? Elastic wrist. Good. Okay.
All right, your comments watching it?
Yes, I'm curious, when in music would you use the push-off versus the forearm
Okay.
staccato?
Most of the time, the forearm staccato is a lot more bouncy, and then also it would do something like one really sharp sound. But I think the push-up staccato is cute. Yeah, so that also helped them to differentiate what kind of character they want in their piece, where, and to use different kinds of things. Yeah. Any other comments from watching that?
I want a student just like this.
Okay, you send me the students and I'll train them and send you back.
I know she was like, twisted at the end when she was lifting off that little push-up. Does it talk about that? Like, do you teach that in the technique as well? What would you call
Very
it?
good question. That's one thing I added. Because, I really think they need to be taught how to, run off the gesture and to run off the sound. And that was not something in the technique book. But she learned that from the beginning so that she can, do that most of the time, like very automatically, really. Yeah. Any other comments? Yes.
At the end of each exercises, I noticed like she circled her wrist around. How do you explain to them the purpose for that and how it can benefit them?
Well, first of all, this gesture, I would ask them, how does it look? And she said, looks graceful. Yeah. I said, yes, you want the end of the piece to be beautiful. And that also helped to taper the sound. And I always do this. I always try to do things different way. So I said, let's not do it, just finish. And that's compared to when you do it. And let them describe how they feel and then what they hear. Yeah. Yes.
I can't see, is her foot or her feet on the
On the stool.
yeah,
Yes.
so-
She couldn't even touch the pedal at the time yet. Yeah. Any other comments that anything? So that's earlier we talked about not having precise terminology to talk about technique, but you really can. Like she was only 9 years old. And I hope that you notice every time I try to let her explain to me what that is. So when she can explain, and sometimes she even just demonstrates, then I know that she really got it. So now we have precise terminology. She has the way of precise physical movement, how to do that. And there's a sound comes after that she associated with. Then all those problems that I described earlier, I wanted to solve that early. so that she has a very good habit. Any other comments before we move along? Yes?
The elastic wrist, how do you keep the feeling of it, but when you don't have the time to do it
In the fast piece, right? Yeah. Okay, very good question. So at the beginning, she does that slowly. But when you really have to do it fast, and later actually, I have more videos to show you. I have her apply that play to her scales and arpeggios. Okay, so if you want to, you can always hear that if they are applying that correctly versus if they don't have that at all. Okay, so I want to show you more videos of that, how that elastic wrist is applied when your piece is faster. Okay, so hold that thought. Anybody else? No? Okay, let's move on. Oh, let me show you. So this is what I was talking about. Every technique, Catherine has a repertoire book that she analyzed all of those. And in there, you can see she has the technique written. That's how you apply that technique in those pieces. And gradually, you can have them write things like that in their own repertoire, the one that they really are playing. Okay, so something like that. That's what Mary was talking about when she said, oh, this is this technique and that's that technique. So then, that's a great application for your students to know. Remember I said they didn't make the connection of this technique and the sound and the pieces. So now they have a way, okay? All right, and here are the 12 basic techniques that Catherine summarized at the end of the book 1. Even at the end of book 1, those techniques, you use them forever. How often do you use two-note slur? All the time. And then how often do you use wrist rotation? Every day, you know? And then it even talks about pedal. I asked my college students in the pedagogy class, how many of you were taught how to pedal when you were young? Guess how many raised their hands? It was scary. So somehow their teachers assumed they know how to pedal. But do they? So that's another thing that Catherine talks so early, okay, about how to pedal. Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, how many of your students or students you saw at even festivals that they just shift when they have to play high or low? Yeah. It was really cute, but you know, it's not something they were supposed to do. So all those very basic things that really she can apply that forever. Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you how Mary is now. This was taken last week. So, okay, so here, oh, wait, then before I stop. Remember I said how many pieces that you know they do 4-octave scales up and down, parallel? Almost never, very few. That's why especially at the beginning, I don't do that. I don't have them do the parallel scales because guess what? Even when they have to find the right fingering to play the parallel scales, that's already such a challenging thing for them. But what's the purpose if they don't have repertoire to do it? So I would rather they do hands separately, beautifully, and fluently, comfortably. So you can see that in her playing. You hear the firm fingertips? Could you hear the little bumps? Yeah, so to answer your question, the elastic wrist, when you are playing so fast, you won't be able to do that. However, that flexibility, that jiggling, and I told her it's like jello, you know, just a little bit of the jiggling, that you apply to everyone. Okay. Now, let's go next. All right, and here are her arpeggios. Your students play the arpeggio her to do. Why don't we do the opposite? So we take care of that first. And now, yeah, okay? Then here. Chords and inversions to get the fingering, but I hope that you could hear the tone. Like she doesn't play that just like technical exercises. She was listening. And then did you also see that gesture? Yeah. Okay. So those are things I think could be incorporated so early in their training. And stop me when you have any questions about anything. Okay. So let me just keep.
Okay, when you do that with the top note voicing.
And inversions mindlessly. So, do something musical. Can you hear her voicing? Yeah. And now, this is really hard. The middle note voicing.
Okay, now do it with the middle note voicing.
So, it's possible, really. Yeah.
I think that middle note voicing, I have students that do like, hey, got it, quickly, and trying to slow them down. That would definitely slow them down thinking about it.
Yeah,
that is
because
tricky.
they have to hear.
Yeah, and concentrate and control.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want them to do anything mindlessly just for the repetition of it. Yeah. All right. Now, let's move on. Okay, what can we do from there? So, over the years, I have been so fortunate to be able to work with students at very high level. And where do we take them from there? We do the same thing. They need to have technique that's very fluent, very at ease, very comfortable, but the technique that can do their music meaningfully. And they have to understand how to apply that technique so that their music turns out to be very convincing. So if this is a piece that you have to learn, what's your first impression? Anybody?
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay. So, well, this was the piece that one of my college students, Susan Tsai, she was junior piano major, and she was learning this piece because one of the competitions require a contemporary piece that's like, I think it was, it has to be after 2000, but it's very, very contemporary. Anyways, you can choose, and this was the piece that we ended up choosing. And then she would explain to you how she learned this piece. Okay, so here we go.
Number 11, hijinks. This word means like playing tricks on people. I really like the humorous and animated characters displayed throughout this piece. When I'm playing this piece, I imagine a cat chasing the little mouse, which creates enormous drama throughout the piece, just like the cartoon Tom and Jerry. Throughout the piece, there are moments that the texture changes. For instance, in thick texture, I would think of a more frantic and chaotic chase. In contrast, in thin texture, I can imagine the little mouse is sneaking or tiptoeing around the cat that is taking a nap. One of the biggest challenges that I've encountered when learning this piece was the memorization. At first, I didn't even know where to start by looking at this very scary looking score, but I started to make sense of it by detailedly analyzing the score. I have marked all the different patterns in different shapes, colors, for me to visualize it in my mind, and also identify all the small differences in between those similar patterns to not be confused among them.
What do you think? So do you think that her technique was in her music and served her music to do what she wanted? Yeah? And do you think that because of that and her analysis, it helps you to understand this piece you probably never heard of in your life ever? And the way that she talked about her story in this piece, did it make sense to you? Yeah? So incredible. Once you are able to really put that kind of, okay, technique is the tool. Like, it helps you to create whatever is in your imagination. And if you really have that vivid imagination, you can create stories in your play, whatever pieces that draw your audience in. And I think we need to do that urgently, because how many people have heard a complaint that the young people now, they don't go to live performances. And really, we're in danger. Why do you think that is? That they don't go to live concert performances?
They have easy access on their phones.
They have easy access online, but let me ask you, is it the same listening to something on YouTube compared to you are in a Neil Hall? It's absolutely different. What is the difference? What do you think the difference is?
Depends on the person.
Personal, yeah. And you know, if you are, yeah.
You feel the frequency,
Yeah.
literally,
Yes.
of the tone.
Yes. And so if we believe in that, we want to get our young people there. If they go, finally, okay, they go and they listen to someone playing. If they did not make that connection, then they would think what? Number one, I don't get it. And number two, maybe that's not for me. And then they will go again. So I told my students, you have such an important mission with your playing. Whenever you had the chance to play, you better be able to grab whoever is there listening and be able to bring them into your music and let them experience something like that. You think with young people listening to her, watching her playing like that, they will like, I think that's quite cool because, you know, I think I could imagine, even though I don't understand, like I don't have that kind of training, but you make a connection. What did she say? Well, how about the humor? And how about, you know, the cat chasing the mouse? Everybody understands that. Yeah, young and old, right? And once she could create that kind of mysterious thing and an exciting thing in this contemporary music, then you bring them to that connection. So, very, very crucial thing for us to do. Don't teach them just the reading notes correctly on the page. We'll lose everybody in the concert hall. Any other comments? Yes?
When you put that piece of music up there and I said, oh no, the first thing that came to my mind was this was going to take a lot of study to figure out all of those little things that you had to do. And I'm so glad that she said that and she explained that. And then she told a little story about the cat and mouse, and I thought that would engage everybody that was listening, I think, even if they didn't understand it right away, because they would know that she had really thought about this a lot. So she could do that. And I thought that would help people make more connections.
Yeah. And you know, please.
I think that's one of the ways in the world that we live in that makes music so incredible and a private lesson so incredible is that they can experience that and you can help them to find, and they you know, it's a reality. It's not a virtual reality, it's a reality, and how can they feel it and how do they sense it? Like what are their senses doing that they don't get?
Can you imagine that same piece being played by a totally different pianist, totally differently?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean contemporary music, right? Sometimes you listen and like, I don't get it. From the beginning, brilliant, I don't get it. But once you are able to somehow put that connection in there and your imagination, then suddenly it becomes a totally different piece. Yeah, great comments. All right, would you like to look at more of the examples? Okay, so now, all right. Here are some of the other college lessons, okay, that you will see. This is Chopin Nocturne, Opus 20 number 2 by Ling Yu Li. And Ling got her doctorate from Eastman after Weaver State. And I believe, oh, hold on. Okay, I believe she still holds the record in Utah of winning the college Steinway Young Artist MTNA competition, college level, 3 years in a row. Oh, wow. So, let's see what Ling does.
Right there, did you remember the glockenspiel that you would play? Okay, just let it go like a glockenspiel. Stop the risotto. Make it really artistic. And what about if it's faster? Yeah, and what about if you prepare your beginning? Aha, how does it do the sound?
There's no like an accent.
Aha, okay, good. So that teaches you. And then at the end, what happens if you don't get the hands up? It just, there. Okay, so now it has to be in that rounded shape. Ah, yeah, got it? Okay. yeah, okay, so that's what it is. You see, if you go like, that's not gonna make the beginning nice. If you don't go up, then it's gonna not make the ending nice. It has to be in that. See, circle is the best thing. Circle is perfect. And everything if you do in circle, it's gonna be so beautiful. Aha, yes? Yeah? Okay, got it? Okay, This one, it's almost like you are a fairy. Yes. Yes. That's it. That's what you do.
I don't know whether you heard her say, I just don't want to stop. She wanted to keep going. Right, and then next thing. All right.
This one, when you do the crescendo, left hand can help it. See? Good. Earlier when you did only right hand, it sounds so like, trying so hard. But when the left hand comes in, everything just goes. Okay, so do the left hand. Okay, that one ending, if you let your elbow to be a little higher, then you have more space. Right, okay, so here, so this one, and then just let that happen, okay? Beautiful, exactly.
Okay, now we are listening to Mazeppa.
Whatever you do, let's go. You are using third finger? So make sure you look at it before you play. Next one, too. Here. It's very important that you are so secure on your notes that you don't, no chance that you're going to play the top note wrong. Okay, so make sure you look at it and don't rush into it. Everything else needs to flow very nicely. It's like bump, bump. Okay. That's too soon. Yes, take your own time. Again. But take more time before the. That's right. One other thing. Can you voice the right hand consistently even when you're playing lighter later? Voice the right hand. Listen to her. Listen to her. Everything slow. I like that. I like that. And I especially like this time. You actually start slower. You started slower and but louder. Why not? And how many groupings? By groupings? Okay. Let's think about this. So sacrament. And especially that's gonna be the beginning. Yeah, that's much, much better for, you don't feel so overwhelmed. And then it's so clean because you take time. You take time before every leap. And your beginning of the leap is always so clear because of the time that you took. Okay, try that again. And
I try to write the things that we work on the side so you can see, okay?
okay, good. Those are all nicely done now. This, the very last one, a little more articulated right before the last key. That right there. That's it. That's it. The ending of it, you need to have even more clean sound, articulate and clean. The pedal, you could flutter a little bit to get the brilliancy and clarity right at the low register. That's it. So you need some pedal clarity right there. And then right after that, do not get softer on this last four notes, okay? Yeah, exactly. One more time, maybe just from the last one. Good. If you play the first piece exact, you're gonna get the attention. The pedal.
Okay, now, sometimes I also have the local students, not the international students, who may need a lot more of the technical guidance, but you can still get them excited about how to apply technique to really make beautiful music. So this is Abby. How many of you taught Jodol already? Robert, Jodol? Yeah? Okay, so here.
But in here, so you want to go 4 notes. Good, so let's go. Okay. That's getting better.
Yeah.
Good, good. So grouping them differently. Okay,
Okay.
try that again. You're doing so well. So now let's put it together. So try to be very, very relaxed with this motion. Okay.
Vanya Ling. She was the national first place winner of the MTNA Steinway Young Artist MTNA competition. And that was in 2010. So this is when Vanya was, I think, a sophomore at that time. have a chance to summarize your impression and then ask even more questions if you need it. Okay? Yes?
But how do you teach a flutter pedal?
Oh, right here. So make sure your pedal, like I always have to go all the way, raise them back up, and then just wiggle their toes. Yeah. Okay, so like that. And I don't know whether, if you do have the pedal, one thing, okay, so this is your pedal like this. Don't have your students pedal this way. Make sure your students pedal with the foot about 45-degree angle. When you do that, it is so easy to wiggle. So you can try when you get home, okay? So this one, I don't think that you can see it. So pedal, and then your foot, turn 45 degrees so that the ball under your foot is right on the pedal, and you just wiggle that little part. And it could do so little. It was very delicate pedal. So go home and try that. That's gonna be your tip for today. Good. Anything else? Yes, yes.
With the college students that come to you that are needing more technical guidance, you know, you're using the Catherine Roland, but what does that look like for our college students compared to your 11-year-old students? Are you having them use the book and kind of show you the techniques as they learn them?
I still get the book. Like ask them to get the book. Yeah,
Okay.
because that's exactly, I mean, it looks so easy to them. And I said, however, I show them, you know, what it would become when they are very used to that technique and then in like later. And so none of them have ever complained that, you know, because once they have problems technically, they know. Because they couldn't do things so easily, and they're so willing to really like quickly fix it, and then so they can keep going. I have actually a before and after video. The student in her second lesson, freshman, comparing to when she gets out. So I said, and she said, I can show that, and I said, you know, I really should put that side by side on the website for people to see incredible progress that you made. Yeah, I'm very proud of them for being able to go from, you know, basic and be willing to change and really make the change, and then they are as good, as competitive as anybody else who have very good training from beginning. Yes.
How long are they practicing each day?
Okay, it depends. Because once you set the criteria for, like they know what goal they have, the time really doesn't matter. Yeah, they know they have to get there. And so I only have one criteria for practicing. You work on whatever you're working on until you can do it 3 times perfect in a row. That's it. You don't need to really give them the time. And and I also do this. Not just they just play it until 3 times. They actually write them down. So we did that in the lesson. So you play perfectly, do a check mark. You play the second time, you miss the note. Well, triangle. And then do another one, a check mark. And oh my gosh, they did not realize how hard it is to do 3 times perfect in a row. And sometimes they're 2 times perfect, right? And the third time, like, woo! And I said, you know, this is such good training. You know why? On the stage, how do you know that you can have that consistency if you cannot do this under pressure? So that's their goal of making it. And so really, you don't have to tell them about how many hours to practice. Whatever they're practicing, 1 measure, 4 measures, 1 section, 3 times perfect in a row. That's it. Yeah. Okay, any other comments? But let me be, so for those students who are working on lots of repertoire, very easy, 4 hours a day, very easy. Yeah.
And when you start them on a piece, how much do you usually give them, like if they're learning a new piece?
Be more specific. Like,
well, if you were starting a new piece with them and they were learning a new, obviously you're probably going to start with the hardest section.
Yeah.
But, and so do you give them like so many measures to do, or like the whole
I
section?
ask them.
You ask them.
Don't put things on them, because then you're forcing them to do it. I said, how much do you think you can get this done? Like how much by next week? And when they say that, they are like really responsible for it, because they said, yeah. And we would work out, okay, what's gonna be your goal next week? And better yet, I have a student who really was so wonderful. She actually wrote the goals every single day. Before her practice, and then what does she want to accomplish, and then how much does she accomplish. And she did that for all 4 years. So she has amazing practice journals about the difficulty, about all those things. And then, yeah, she was one of the students who had very, very basic technical foundation and had to start over. But my gosh, by the end, she even won our school concerto night and played with the orchestra. So it is possible. And that's when I really feel like, we talk about making a difference in their life and making a difference in their confidence and self-image. No, like nothing is more powerful from when they can do it themselves. If they really went through the process and then they really were empowered by how much better they became, I think that's the key. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Yes?
How much in the lesson, when the student's there, how much of the lesson do you spend on technical exercises as opposed to the repertoire?
Okay, at the beginning, a bit more on, like scales and arpeggios and other things, but as soon as they know what they're doing, then we actually did the technique in the pieces. We will pick a measure, like where, and I always ask them, where do you feel uncomfortable? And that's the part that they needed. Because I said, you could do a lot of things on your own, and you need me only on those things that you cannot solve. So that's what we work on. So it's not me that takes the lesson, it's them. They tell me, oh, I need help on this, and this still feels strange, and all those, yep.
Do you take note, do you write down the goals for them, or do you have them write them down? Or if they want to.
They videotape every lesson. And review it, and write down, observe. Yeah. So you have to cut your job easier.
So that was my other question. When you do your videotaping, how do you index that?
I told them, a very good question. I told those students, especially those who have a lot of repertoire trying to prepare for, like competitions, I suggested for them to do folders. This folder is all, the La Campanella. So all the videos of this goes into this. And they have things. Okay, so they know earlier and most recent. And that, they need to have a competition from the past. They can do better videos. They don't need me to go through that every single thing again. And that has worked quite well for them. Yeah, very good question. Yes, Tiffany.
How much for well, I guess it depends on the level of the student, right? But let's say for the younger beginners, how long of a lesson would you do, right? Because to go over all that technique plus the repertoire.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on the student. Some students cannot sit that long. We all know. Some of them have an hour, plenty. And like Mary, she could sit with 1 hour, no problem. Yeah. So you have to just kind of experiment and then see. At the beginning, you can start with half an hour, and if you think, oh, this is going really well, and then they can focus, extend that to 45 minutes, and then to 1 hour. Yeah. That's a very practical question. Yeah. I think I'm so grateful that I got that opportunities to work with people so young and people so advanced. It really fill my day like so wonderfully. I'm really happy about it. Yeah. Anything else? No. Okay. You have been so attentive. I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to come today, and I'm really happy that I got a chance to share with you some of the things for you to see. You can really, teach the same idea with the artistic result in mind from the very beginning. And you are those teachers who are so driven, self-driven, because you are here. You wanted to learn even more from somebody else, and so your spirit is already making you different, setting you apart in the teaching. So thank you for doing all the wonderful things with your students. Thank you so much.
There are some refreshments over there. Please make sure that you take some with you, or eat some now, or do both. We'd love to have you eat it all.